Pasha, Paroh, YN7. Thank you for tuning. Got Trish back in the building. Trish, how are you today?
Hello. Thank you for having me again.
Always a perfect day. Thank you for showing up. So, I was having a conversation with you and made a comment about the drug addiction of relationships themselves. People tend to want whatever they particularly want from a relationship. Safe to say?
Yes.
Okay. So when you look at the definition of how to define a drug, what is a drug? A drug is something that's normally extracted from a whole, right? Like
Right. Yes.
smoking, smoking weed, right? Even the burning process extracts the THC or the CBD or whatever elements the body winds up consuming through the lungs. So it's part of it, and the rest is shed, correct? Ash, you pluck it, whatever. Okay.
Yes.
So if we look at a drug as being an extraction of something from the whole to produce an effect on the mind, body, performance, what have you. Wow. How does that tie into like overall relationships?
Well, it's funny. I just had a really great relationship. I just had a really great conversation about relationships, romantic relationships with my oldest sister, and we were just talking about the variables of
Mm-hmm.
why we get into relationships and what we expect of them. And I just kind of feel like all things, including drugs, substance abuse, and are all forms of avoidance. I feel that people get into relationships to avoid themselves. Um, it's easier to focus on someone else than yourself. And the other part is the addiction part is if you have low self-esteem and insecurities, but low self-esteem, you will look for your partner to fill that void, to make you feel like you're good enough. The dating world, like dating sites make a lot of money off of this because people are looking to feel better. They're looking for that fix of a relationship to feel better. It's like any drug. It's so many people think it's better to be in a relationship than not. Like a lot of people will say, "Oh, I'm single," like it's a bad thing. Like being single, there's something wrong with being single if you don't have a partner. It must mean there's something wrong with you. So it's a long-winded answer, but there's a lot of variables to answering that question. I think I brought up a few of them. What do you think of that?
So I compare it to the holistic, um, like the holistic medicine approach, right? They use the word holistic because you're using the whole instead of the extraction. To discard part of one, right, is to not appreciate that part of them. Because if you appreciated it, you would have found use for its potential.
Hmm.
So often people, you heard the 80-20 rule, right? Or not
Right.
even gonna call it a rule, but the people get with the in relationships, since right now we're talking about like person-to-person type relationship, spousal type, right?
Right. Romantic.
Couple, some sort. Okay.
Right.
So you see the fact that somebody likes 20% of a person and they get with them and tolerate the rest. Just like they like 80% of a person sometimes and they get with them and tolerate the rest. Stuff that starts off as I can deal with it in the beginning eventually becomes unbearable.
Red flags. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. But why would they do that? Why would they? I don't, I think there's different reasons why different people do things. But I think it is also a fear of being alone. People don't want to be alone. They'd rather stay with someone at whatever cost than be alone. I think that's an element in what we're talking about, which I kind of feel like drugs is too, or any other addiction is a form of not being present, not the desire to not be present and not feel what you're feeling, not face what you're feeling, and whatever else comes with that feeling. Things that you don't want to deal with. And I know I say this because I look back and I think I was very addicted to relationships. But really just because so much in society, people make you feel like a loser if you're not with someone. There's a lot of that in society as well that's perpetuating the need for a partner to be complete. You hear that, he completes me, she completes me, which is a misnomer. You're already
lost
complete, right?
lost sight of being whole from the start. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
All right.
yes,
So
yes,
you've given a good amount of variables, and I'm just going to categorize them all as that's that person's drug of choice. So if someone is with someone out of the fear of not wanting to be alone, as you mentioned, then their drug is companionship, socially
yes,
present, right? Whatever that word is. So companionship,
yes,
but it's going to be different or multiple overlapping stacked next to each other like dominoes, whatever. It's going to be different for each individual, correct?
yes.
Okay. So we can just say the drug. Now, what happens when someone is addicted to something, can't get what they're looking for from their normal supplier?
We know what happens with that. um, they usually stray. I think a lot of people get into relationships because they think they're going to get sex on a regular basis. They think that comes with the equation. And sure, maybe in the beginning, lots of people are. I mean, you're into each other. Once the honeymoon phases, that's where the rubber meets the road on why those people are together. And a person that's really attached to the idea that sex comes with a relationship will stray if the sex wanes. Does that answer your question? Just what came to mind off the top of my head.
Yeah, yeah. I said, you're giving um, a particular variable, right? And I'm just
Yes.
gonna speak on it like I normally do from equation based. And but yes, so it could be anything. To bring up sex is something that people bring up, but like it's it's kind of like the dumbest thing ever to argue about because humanity comes together to procreate, So why is there any complaint about someone wanting sex in a relationship? I mean, as far as a couple status, and I want to get into the other relationship types too, but
Okay.
it's like why are you? What is it even brought up for? You know what I mean? And then also, I think that also starts with the person that's in the relationship, right? If they have a high sex drive, and apparently the person that they're with, some of the 20% they didn't like, or the 80% that they didn't like, must have been that they didn't have a high sex drive, right? So if you had the opportunity to identify that in the beginning, oh, right, you're tolerating that because you want the other portion that
Right.
you are interested in, right?
Yes.
You
Yes.
want how many people are in relationships where they're not getting the sex, but they got the roof over their head that they want, the car outside they want to drive, right?
Exactly.
Or the food on the
Exactly.
table that they wanted, whatever the case may be. And
Right.
really, that's the bullshit.
That is so true. And that's what we were talking about. Um, um, it's very dysfunctional. It's very toxic. Um, and if you have children, it's extremely harmful to the children. They're very much affected by this. They hear the conversation, just that energy. And it's also their influence. It leads them to make similar choices, and the cycle just goes on and on. And that's something that my sister and I were talking about in ourselves and our choices that we've made, and reflecting now on our past and why we made the decisions that we made. So it's so great because I just had this conversation right before we're doing this podcast, so the timing is perfect.
Oh, that's
So,
dope. So,
yeah.
so like continuing on that for a moment, because I know it's a low chakra, it's a low vibration, so a lot of people can relate to it, right?
Right.
Um, so what it really boils down to is, see, this is the thing. You can't be real with yourself until you know what real is. Because someone lied to you and you believed it, now you lying to everybody else because you think you true. But here's how it works. In that situation, it's not about the fact that they got the car you want, or the food on the table. It's not That's not the issue. It's not how you got those out of the situation, right? The issue
Right.
is that if you know that person as a whole, their whole personality wants sex 6 nights a week, twice on Saturdays. You know what I'm saying? Um, then you kind of gotta blame yourself,
Yeah.
right? For getting in a
Hmm.
relationship where you only appreciate the fact that, hey, you know what? Go out there and make more money for us. Go out there and get more of this for us. Go do this for us. Go get more of this for us. Oh, but no, don't want more sex than this limit right here. That's really the simplicity of the equation. That's why I like equations. Because when you look at the math, it just don't add up. You want them to be an overachiever in every aspect that you want them to be, and then be an underachiever or just perform to this level with what's convenient for you. That's the extraction process.
God, that's so true. Hmm.
Can you see that?
Yes.
What does that
I
make you
feel
think of?
uh I I just think a lot of people don't take time to get to know each other.
Hmm.
They jump right in the sack, and all those hormones are going crazy and everything seems great. You know what I mean?
Right.
But once usually when people first meet, they're putting on their best face, their best. So it's hard to discern who that person really is, and that's the problem. People don't take enough time to get to know one another before they jump in the sack. And then not only do they jump in the sack, but they move in together. Oh, let's move in together. It'll save finances. That's a big red flag. And before you know it, you're in over your head, and you're suddenly like, who is this person? Uh, so that's why I just think dating is dangerous, because you're looking, and when you're looking, you will read into things. You will put things there that you want so badly to be there that aren't. Um, Again, just wanting to be with someone at whatever cost. So I feel it goes back to what you said. You only have yourself to blame. First, if you're,
Oh, you hit the mute button. Unmute yourself.
you know,
First, if
what
you
is it?
what?
I don't even think people know that, even when they're out shopping on a dating site. They don't take enough time to spend with themselves, so that by the time they meet somebody, they know who they, well, yeah, they know who they are. They know what their interests are. They know how much sex they want. They can put all that stuff on the table. But some, myself included, this is not judgment, this is discernment. So many people jump from one person to the next, and they don't take downtime to learn from their mistakes in their relationship, that those decisions they made with that previous person, what they were looking for, why they were looking for it, um, so that you can make a better choice next time. Say, well, I know this, I know I want this, I know I want this. But if you don't take time to do that, you'll just get whatever. Right? I mean, you'll just go out there. Well, he looks cute, he's got a job, and uh, and it's so much more than that. Being
See?
attractive and being financially stable does not mean that person is compatible with you, obviously. But yeah. So anyways, but I am very guilty of that. I was avoiding myself. I look back at my past. I was addicted to relationships because it filled it filled that space that I needed to fill for myself. I was using somebody else to do that, to give me my sense of self. And now you will get burned every time when you do that. When you put your what someone else thinks of you above what you think of yourself, you will get hurt. Because you can be a person can play you. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. How does the addiction carry over to the relationship in the family?
Family carry over. Well, I mean,
The extraction part of the drug with your
yeah.
family relationship. You don't want the whole person. You just want the.
Title of the family member, you mean? Or
I'm asking you real quick, since we've established kind of like the baseline, how do you think that carries over into the family relationship?
with a family that you start from that, or you mean with your own family? You're talking about
See?
your family. Well, I mean, what we did talk about was, my sister and I were talking about this. We didn't, my mom, we learned from watching our mom behave this way.
Mm.
And we saw their interactions, for my stepfather and my father, for that matter. And we just said, okay, that's what we're supposed to do. And yeah, you pick up those behaviors. You pick up that this is what a romantic relationship is supposed to look like. If that answers your question. Did that
Well,
answer your question?
well, you're still centering around the romantic relationship. I guess that is the proper title. Um, but change the venue from romantic relationship and how and the interaction would be between individuals on a romantic level, and think about the 7-year-old and their mother. You know, look at the dynamics of the addiction there. The mother is addicted to the child. Stay in the child's place, but hey, this 7-year-old is in special advanced classes and he's asking you questions like a lawyer because you try to put him on punishment and he's giving you his defense case and now you can't take it as a parent. So now you cause trauma in their life because of their natural talent because you're addicted to a child that should stay in their place. You don't want the child you got. You want the child to shut the fuck up, go in a room while you can drink or unwind or detox from your hard day at work.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right? Not you
yes.
personally, but just generally speaking, this scenario out.
Yes.
And then flip it vice versa. The kid's addiction from the parent, expecting maybe to get the $500 Yeezys when they were popular, if they still are or not, right?
Right.
And then the parents saying that they don't have the budget to support that addiction and how that causes trauma in the relationship. Now look at the family, right? The family that wants you to be there for them, but every time you call or need something, they ain't never there for you. You sending money to them, and then when you say something about you ain't got no money, their answer is, oh, well, you should have some money. You know, talk to me about the addictions between family members.
Well,
from your perspective, what comes to your mind? Because remember, you're gonna throw the rest away.
Yeah.
After you extract what you want.
Right. You're
the drug.
Yeah, you're good for them as long as you can help them when they need you. Right. Yeah. That definitely is big in my family. Yeah, I've helped family members and some of them I don't hear from them. I haven't heard from them in years.
Mm-hmm.
The minute I assert my needs, suddenly I'm difficult and
right.
You know, can't be bothered with.
Or needy. Oh, you're too needy.
Right, needy. Oh, needy is a big. We really need to put the distinction of what needing and neediness is. The difference between the two is huge. This would be, I might make a chart on that. That's a great point. Yeah. And it's always, yeah, they just use that so they can deflect responsibility, giving back, receptiveness.
Great.
They can, right.
I like that you brought that up. Let me get this right. So you're saying in that moment that they're using the opportunity sometimes to deflect quote unquote responsibility. So I want to ask you, and that me, that's infinity. So whatever the responsibility may be. So I want to ask you, isn't the assumption or expectation of that responsibility a codependency factor too, just like we're talking about this drug exchange, this drug and addicted?
Well, and it comes down to the you owe me mentality in any relationship. If someone does something for you and then they hang it over your head later, well, you owe me. No, that's not giving, that's manipulation. Which is big in all relationships. I find in work relationships, romantic relationships, family relationships. People will do something for you with an ulterior motive. They'll do it to appear as though they're, helping you out and whatever. But they sure can't wait to tell you later how, they're tallying up everything.
Tallying up like the doctors and the lawyers, right?
Yes, yes.
The doctor and a lawyer, let's look at this relationship. They need clients. So now, in order for the doctors to thrive, oh, wait, who's addicted to the doctors? Oh, the medical universities, right? You got these codependent relationships. The doctors need the medical university, and the medical university need people to want to become doctors. What do they both need? They need more sick people. Oh, so now the doctor's addicted to sick people. So we can't get rid of the sick people, or else the doctor's going to have a what? A relapse, a withdrawal, whatever it's called. The lawyer need more people to think that they can't defend themselves or present their own case, but basically they need more what? Criminal activity or whatever brings charges. Because I guess everything you could go to court for ain't necessarily a crime. Oh, so now they addicted to that. Who depends on that? Oh, the law schools. Who depends on that? Oh, the judges. Who depends on that? The court system itself, right?
Right.
Oh, so now we got these addictions.
And
Why?
also there's in the addiction, there's a need for control. They want to be able to control you. I had a client early on, her and a roommate, they hired me. I was just starting out. I was saying I'm building my business. And the one put a good review because I deserved it, but then tried to use that as leverage. Well, I put a
Oh
good
man,
review, so you got to do this extra work for me now, or you got to come whenever I want you to come. And then the two roommates were arguing over it. It was really. Let me just tell you, I ended up leaving without it getting paid because I was like, keep your money. I don't. This isn't
it's
gonna work.
disgusting.
Yeah, it was. Oh, you just can't even know how much people will try to do this to housekeepers, try to
Oh,
use them for whatever they want. And um, so I had to let that client go, even though I really couldn't afford to do it. It was just, when you get that bad gut feeling, it was like I literally left the job within the within an hour because I knew there were shenanigans going on. So
her
if
favorite
people
word.
will try to, do this even in professional relationships, I'm sure I'm speaking some things that you're going, oh yeah, I identify with that.
Everybody's.
So
I think
people
everybody's walked
will,
away from one job at least.
yeah, and when they try to own you, they'll do something or do several things for you, and then suddenly you're obligated. And you have to be really mindful when you're making these decisions to that's why a lot of people don't allow people to help them because they hang it over their head later. They're afraid that it'll be used against them later,
Mhm.
you know.
So
And
we covered got about 8 minutes left here. So we covered romantic relationships, we covered client and customer, which basically is the same as like a vendor and supplier. So now you see why it's so hard. Or let me ask you this in a question form. How does this relate or pertain to why for people that can see have this clarity, this vision, right? Not for the people that are either fantasy land, don't know this type of shit is going on or existing, and everybody's just extract, or not everybody, but majority of people are just extracting shit from everybody and discarding the rest of them, which is
that's
why
a
the,
great word.
the
I like
culture is
that.
the way it is, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
my question to you is this: how does this, what we've discovered today, pertain to the difficulty in truly meeting someone new, despite what it is, business, romantic, client, customer. You people are afraid to talk to their clients about shit that they got an opinion about because they're afraid of them not coming back because they are afraid that they won't be accepted for the whole person they are, and they're trying to salvage the addiction they have, which is giving their client a service or product.
Mm. Ooh, we might need to do a podcast on that one. You
It's
have
disgusting.
to
It makes me
be
sick. I mean, I'm so glad that you're here today. This is therapy for me. I appreciate it. Like, I'm really.
well,
Go ahead.
attachment.
Go
What we're
ahead.
talking about and the cause is attachment is a big when you're attached to something. I don't know, it makes me think of that. Desperation leads to incarceration. When you do something out of desperate, it never goes well. because that person knows it. So when you're not desperate and you can take it or leave it, um, suddenly you have the power to manifest what you want. That's what I'm learning. Um, when I've, in my mind, freed myself, let's say I'm getting ready to do a job bid and I free myself from the possibility it won't happen, and I face that, then I
Mhm.
can say what I really need to say. And I'm okay with whatever the outcome is. That's the key to what we're talking about here to me. uh as I've been growing my business, that has been the one big change that I've made. When I go to do a bid, in my mind I'm like, I can take it or leave it, so I'm going to put on the table and ask for what I really want, so that I don't leave myself subservient to someone else, put
Let
the
me
power in their hands.
let me ask you a question about the business aspect here. With time running down, are your clients in contact with you about non-client stuff?
Yeah, yeah, well, yes. It's when you're a housekeeper, it's probably one of the most personal things you can do is go into someone's home. Eventually, and I think this is across the board. When you work with someone, whether they're your boss, you're their boss, whatever, you're bound to develop a relationship personally. I think it's unavoidable. And that's where people talk about conflicts of interest. I don't know if it's possible to avoid them altogether. Once you build that trust, you're going to get personal. It's kind of comes with the territory.
Let's let's come at it from
You're
a
a
different
human
angle.
being, right? So
Let's come at it from a different angle. Keep you going on this. Would you want to have if you had a clipboard checklist, right? And you could absolutely find out in advance. Would you want a client that only wanted to do business with you because you were good at what you do? Or would you sacrifice those people for people who actually appreciated you as a person? And by the way, this is what you're good at too.
that one.
Yeah.
Yes, the acknowledgement of what you bring to the table, not just your service, but who you are as a person, your spirit, your energy, your effort,
The whole you.
the whole me. That is what has changed. I have clients in my life now that are like, and I cannot begin to tell y'all, the difference is immeasurable. To be acknowledged as a human being, not just a worker, to be appreciated for the effort that you're putting in and that
And
you
Trish,
care.
and that spreads like butter across hot toast into all of the other relationships that we brought up today. At
Yes,
some point, people get tired, even if they didn't know it, even if they were blind to the oblivious to the fact of what was really going on, they get tired of not being able to be whole and be included in a relationship, right? Whether it's
yes.
work, romantic, client,
Family.
family.
Hmm.
What's your closing thoughts on that? How do you give the pros and cons of people's decisions in that position? When they leave, they move forward, and they become the bad guy because they don't so and so don't fuck with us no more. Well, why? Why don't they? Did you think about that? I mean, but go ahead. Let me hear what you got.
Just, it probably sounds incredibly simple, but it just does come down to, uh, paying attention to the details, being in the moment, and being true to yourself. It really just is. Say what you need to say. If you cannot say in any given situation, be brother, mother, boyfriend, boss, then you're a slave. You're not living your life on your own terms. You cannot say what you need to say in that moment to that person. You will be in pretense, pretending. And you cannot blame that other person. At some point, you didn't say what you needed to say, didn't say your boundary. You didn't honor what you know is true for you and what works for you and what doesn't work for you, regardless of anyone else agreeing with it or not. Has to comes down to you. And that is what I see, a world of people holding things back, not saying what they need to say. And when they don't, they carry that around with them in everything they do, the weight of what they have not said, the truth they have not put on the table. That's ultimately at the base of what we're talking about to me.
Excellent, excellent point. Excellent point. Self-preservation means you got to be true to yourself first, but to be true to yourself first, you got to know who yourself is. You got to know that you're not going to be able to tolerate that 20% that you can't stand for 20 years. You got to know that as soon as someone comes with 5% of the 20% that's missing, you're going to feel like that's gold and it's just glitter. But, job, doctor, specialist, lawyer, whatever, it's the same thing. I
Yes.
appreciate you here today, Trish.
Thank you so much.
We
I
definitely got to
appreciate
continue
you
this.
having me. Yes, I'm always happy to come back.
Okay.
Great.
Say bye to the people.
Bye, guys. Next
Pasha
time.
Paroh, YNS7. Thank you for tuning.